Well, there's certainly no doubt that shoplifting and pretty much all other forms of retail shrinkage has drastically increased in the last decade or two. In fact, statistics are showing that shoplifting has doubled since the year 2000. And it appears that it will continue to skyrocket primarily due to the state of the economy. There tends to be a correlation between the state of the economy and the level of retail shrinkage. So this could have a real major impact on the bottom line of a business. Well, we know that shoplifting is North America's #1 property crime, and both the FBI and the RCMP state that it's the fastest growing crime, so it's a major concern. Unfortunately, even though shoplifting is a #1 crime, too often police agencies give it very little attention and would rather focus on what they consider more serious crimes. How much does it cost a business? Well, although it can be somewhat difficult to get the exact amount, generally losses range between 0.5% and about 6% of annual sales. I've even seen a couple studies that suggest that it's much higher. Now, generally, the 0.5% loss figure represents a company with good inventory control and anti-theft devices along with some good staff training and retail loss. And the 6% figure usually represents a company with a minimal type of inventory control or little or no anti-theft devices, as well as they usually lack staff training in retail loss prevention. Now, the unfortunate part is this, is that unless a retailer has a very good inventory control in place, they may not even realize how extensive this is. So I suggest that you do a quick calculation of your potential losses. So let's say that you own a small business and your annual sales are $600,000. If you follow this model, your losses will range between $3,000, which represents the 0.5%, or to as much as $36,000, which represents a 6% in retail losses. Now, this depends on certain factors, but generally what we find is that most businesses fall somewhere in between these two figures. So when you really think about it, it's going to be a substantial amount of profits which are going to be walking out your door, and you work way too hard to have these profits walking out your door. Yeah, there's some stats and some facts that I'd like to share with you. And do you know that 1/3 of all new businesses fail due to retail theft? Approximately 1 in 10 people is a shoplifter. Shoplifters are caught only 1 in 50 times and actually arrested only 1 in 100 times. Most non-professionals do not plan to steal in advance, and most shoplifters purchase as well as steal merchandise in the same visit. As well, the majority of seasoned shoplifters, in other words, your experienced shoplifters, are able to outsmart the latest anti-theft devices. Who are the shoplifters? Well, that's part of the problem. There's really no real profile of a shoplifter. And contrary to the stereotypes, shoplifters come from all walks of life and range from the well-to-do to the homeless. Now, this is something that I stress in my workshops. It's important to remember that most shoplifters look just like you and I. And they can be male or female, they can be young or they can be old, they can be dressed in business suits or in raggedy jeans. In fact, often professionals will dress up to throw retailers off. You see, they know that there's a preconception of what a shoplifter should look like. Therefore, it's important to remember that you cannot pick out a shoplifter simply by their appearance or their ethnic background or socio-economical background. And by only focusing on one specific group or characteristics, you may be mistakenly missing an incident that's occurring right in front of you. So it's important to learn some of the telltale signs of a shoplifter. Well, I think awareness is certainly your first step, but it all depends on the type of business and your loss prevention budget. If you have a fairly healthy budget, I then recommend that you use a combination of different strategies. Certainly good anti-theft devices, EAS systems, closed circuit television systems will help. And it's important to keep these things up to date. But you should also be aware that with so much information online right now, that a lot of the systems that are out there can be easily outsmarted by today's shoplifter. Today, the average shoplifter is more sophisticated and well-informed than ever before. Often, shoplifters will share their experiences and some of their tactics on how to become a better thief and how to get away with it. And they will share this information with other shoplifters or potential shoplifters. They also will point out businesses that are considered easy targets. And that's a key, is you don't want to be considered an easy target. Well, there's some professionals that will purposely turn to stores and target stores that have EAS systems. And that's why I think that retailers can no longer solely rely on only anti-theft devices to protect their business from losses. It really has to be a combination of things, and retail loss prevention training for both management as well as staff members in today's day and age is critical. The thieves are becoming more well-informed, and it's time that the retailers also become more well-informed. Well, first, I think it's very important that a small business is aware that shoplifting is real and it's growing, and their business is not immune from theft. And that's occurring on a daily basis. You need to remind yourself that between 1/2 and 6% of your sales is walking out your door. Now, that should help to decide how much you can afford to spend on different types of devices and that sort of thing. But even if you're on a small budget, I do recommend that your best investment will be in training. This definitely will reduce your losses at a minimal cost. There's a lot of training programs that are really not that expensive, especially some of the online programs that are out there. Well, there's several reasons why. Retail loss prevention training is important, and as we've been discussing, certainly keeping your losses at a minimal and hanging on to your money